here's Brody Brazil.
There's no doubt that the ascent of the Savannah Bananas is continuing, and this latest news confirms it. They're going to have 10 games nationally televised this summer on ESPN. Yes, they've been on national TV before, but this 10-game deal doubles what they were previously doing. The Bananas are also playing at sold-out MLB stadiums like Fenway Park and Camden Yards, as well as NFL football stadiums like in Nashville and in Charlotte. And just one point to make later in this video, yeah, this is the same ESPN that recently backed out of 3 final years on a deal with Major League Baseball. Think about this in the big picture here, and we'll address that later on in the video. ESPN recently backed away from Major League Baseball, and now essentially on a smaller scale, I realize this is kind of apples and oranges for the Bananas, but ESPN is doubling down and getting deeper into the Savannah Bananas and getting away from Major League Baseball. More on that big picture thought in just a second. But first, here are some agreement details with the Bananas and ESPN. 10 games starting here in the summer of 2025 on Friday and Saturday nights. April 26th will be their first telecast. It'll stretch all the way till August 15th. So they're not burying this on a Wednesday afternoon as a replay. These are live as they happen on big nights during the summer, Friday and Saturday nights. Quite honestly, I think the ratings are going to do quite well. A lot of people love to go out and see the Bananas in person, but those tickets are hard to come by, and they don't exactly stop in every city. There's a lot of people out there who are aware of the Bananas and follow the Bananas, like on social media, but I don't know if they've seen a full game, and I think they'll be even more inclined now to tune in with double the amount of games. These will be shown on ESPN, ESPN2, as well as streaming on Disney Plus and ESPN Plus. Previously, the Bananas had been seen on ESPN, but only on ESPN 8, the Ocho, or other rare and infrequent opportunities. So now ESPN is kind of pushing them to the forefront on the main channel and on, do they still call it the Deuce? No, nobody does. You can also see, by the way, Banana games, or events as they call them, on Bally Sports Live. These are regional situations on the Stadium Network, and I think last year they were also on True TV. So this is not their first time on television. You can find them other places. But yeah, this ESPN 10-game deal Friday and Saturday nights this summer, that's kind of a prime time slot. Now, they'll be playing, like I said, at Major League Baseball stadiums, NFL football stadiums. They're going to kick things off right around the corner at Clemson. 80,000 tickets already sold at Memorial Stadium. They'll eventually go to Nissan Stadium, home of the Titans, B of A Stadium, home of the Panthers in Charlotte, Nationals Park, home of the Nationals, Fenway Park. They'll play at Fenway Park. That game's going to be on ESPN in Boston. Then Philly, Baltimore twice at Camden Yards. They'll go up to altitude at Denver at Coors Field. And then they'll close it out on the south side of Chicago, at least for this TV deal, at Rate Field, home of the White Sox. I mean, this is amazing, right? The Bananas, they started so small, and they only started a handful of years ago. Let's look at their team evolution here. The first Banana Ball game was in 2020. June 26th, 2020 was the first day and game ever they played with their own set of rules. 2 years later, they're on a 14-game world tour. Yeah, if you look at the geography on that, it wasn't even a cross-country tour, let alone a world tour, but all the games were sold out. By 2022, there was bona fide interest in this team. In 2023, they play 80 games. They have a 7-month schedule. They're now only an exhibition, strictly an exhibition-only team. Last summer, an 8-month tour, including 5 current MLB stadiums. And look what they're doing here in 2025. Games in 40 different cities, 3 NFL stadiums, 17 different MLB stadiums. And again, I don't think the Savannah Bananas are ever going to replace Major League Baseball. Like, you got to be kidding me to think that. But they are starting to encroach on baseball fans. Does success of the Bananas translate into popularity of Major League Baseball? Does one lead to the other, or are the Bananas taking away from time and attention and money and tickets that people would be spending on Major League Baseball games? Check this out from CBS News and the program 60 Minutes. They say the Savannah Bananas now have more TikTok followers than all 12 of last year's MLB playoff teams combined. Now, the world can't be judged strictly on TikTok followers. Certainly that's a specific age and demographic. But wouldn't you say it's a lot of young people and maybe the future of the game and the sport and the business? Let me just say this again. The Bananas now have more TikTok followers than all 12, not 1 or 2 or 6, all 12 of last year's MLB playoff teams combined. You could make the argument that, well, MLB teams have more important things to do than try and get TikTok followers. But do they? You see what I'm saying here? The Bananas are no longer a sideshow. The Bananas are starting to become kind of a main event here. And again, we'll put this all into perspective in just a second, but I also need to remind you about MLB and ESPN. Their deal continues this year for 2025, but it was also under contract for 26, 27, 28. This was a deal they did in 2021. The national rights deal was supposed to end after 28. It's now going to end here after 2025. They've been partners since 1990. And they said it was a mutual agreement to part ways, but as time passed, it was pretty clear that ESPN had an option to get out of this deal, and they took it. They had a March 1st deadline to either continue the agreement or not. So back in February, these two sides, they split ways. Via Sports Illustrated, according to MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred, ESPN had approached MLB to reduce the $550 million it spends annually on their deal, citing the only $85 million that Apple and $10 million that Roku pay for their packages. ESPN was like, wait a second, we bought in a long time ago. You've let in new partners. They pay a lot less. We just want to downgrade our payments and maybe get the same package. ESPN's family of networks has broadcast the primetime Sunday Night Baseball since 1990. Manfred cited 2024's improved Sunday Night Baseball ratings up 6% from the prior year, he said, as a reason against reducing the fee. MLB was like, wait, this is a deal. This is a contract. You signed it. We don't want to change the value. We're going to stick with the deal that you signed with us. ESPN said, fine, we have an opt-out of this. We're going to exercise our option out of this. Manfred also said this to Sports Illustrated, and I don't know if this was kind of like throwing a punch after the fight was over, but he said, quote, we have not been pleased with the minimal coverage that MLB has received on ESPN's platforms over the past several years outside of the actual live game coverage. Now, I think we can all agree, if you turn on ESPN like right now, they're probably talking about football, even though the NFL season recently ended and won't start anytime soon. We're about to be in the middle of the offseason of the NFL, and yet they'll talk about the NFL year-round. Same thing with the NBA. It can be the middle of summer, it can be the middle of winter, during the season, off-season. NBA and NFL coverage are year-round on ESPN. Baseball has kind of been put on the back burner with ESPN, and I do understand Rob Manfred's feeling about that and against that. He certainly has a point, but if ESPN saw baseball as a popular and valuable commodity that it should be, do you think ESPN is doing this intentionally? They're just reading the room. And unfortunately, the room is not dictating that MLB gets the same type of ratings and coverage and metrics that football and basketball are providing them right now. I'm going to use my cheesy one-liner just one more time because I spent so much effort on it to remind you that the Bananas in Major League Baseball are two separate things. They literally are like apples and oranges. Get it? Bananas and anyway, doom. Major League Baseball plays 162 games per team per season. That's a lot of games for Major League Baseball. The Bananas are more like events. They're like a concert that tours, and they do a world tour, and they have different stops. And once you come to that town, everybody's been waiting for your arrival. They're anticipating that. Baseball can never be like that. Baseball teams are trying to win World Series. The Bananas are trying to entertain with every single game and event they do. So again, I totally realize they're separate. I'm also not here to suggest that whoever ESPN sides with determines who's going in the right direction and what is totally more popular, but there is kind of a small message to be sent here. And let me switch sports to suggest this. Have the Harlem Globetrotters ever been more popular than the NBA itself? I think the answer to that is no. I mean, they're well known. They've been around for a very long time, and the Bananas essentially are the parallel to the Harlem Globetrotters. But my point here is that I feel like over time, the Bananas could be a lot more popular in the baseball sphere than the Globetrotters ever even are or were in the basketball realm. And that's saying a lot because, again, the Harlem Globetrotters are pretty popular. ESPN televising Banana Ball games in Major League Baseball stadiums on Friday and Saturday nights this summer. If you think about it, this is the Bananas, who started only a couple years ago from basically nothing. And now they're in big league ballparks on weekend nights, nationally televised on ESPN, while in a couple years, actually next year this time, Major League Baseball will not be on ESPN, and they'll pick a new television partner. I'm just saying here that the Bananas are really starting to make waves, get some attention, and the real question is, are they taking away from Major League Baseball, or are they adding to people's interest in Major League Baseball? Is this good for the sport, for the game? How about for the business of baseball or not? There are so many things to think about here, this dynamic, this relationship, and now that we can see the Bananas are continuing their ascent, there's a lot of questions to be asked. And I think if you're Major League Baseball right now, you have to look at the Bananas. What are they doing? How are they doing it? No, I'm not here to say that Aaron Judge needs to be doing cartwheels coming out of the outfield if he were to make a catch, or somebody needs to do a dance on the mound before they throw a pitch. That's all craziness, right? That will never apply to Major League Baseball. But how are the Bananas marketing themselves? What are they doing off the field? How is their business operating that maybe Major League Baseball can take a few things away from? That really is the question here. Again, the ESPN deal, good for the Bananas, but that's just kind of a small signature of a bigger situation that's going on here, and I think a momentum shift, to be quite honest, that Major League Baseball needs to pay attention to this. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, while you're down there, thumbs up on this video. Greatly helps me, this video, and this channel. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because you know I would love to see you back here next time.